Hello, everyone. Today, our guest is Muriel, a singer-songwriter and author. Fluent in multiple languages, including French, Muriel brings a diverse cultural background to her work. With over 16 years of experience in the music industry, she has released 2 albums and an EP. Additionally, her book, Testimony of a Mad Woman, explores her personal journey of mental health and self-discovery. Welcome to Lex the Woodley Interviews. You're here.
Yes,
Finally.
I am.
I've been looking forward to this so much.
Yes, me too. It's really cool.
I've been telling you a few times that I love it that you have French. I love the French language. My pronunciation is terrible, so maybe that's why I'm like, oh, Muriel, what does that mean? Tell me about your French background, because you are French, half.
Yes, I'm half French, actually from my mother's side, and I grew up here, and then I left for Italy, and then I lived in France for a very long time, and then I came back here. I had to, kind of.
Why did you have to come back?
Yeah, well, I had to. So I came back.
And you're an artist, so I know that you sing in French and in English and in Dutch.
Sometimes, yeah, I have a few songs in Dutch. Yeah, but for me, singing in Dutch is hard. I don't know exactly why, but if I would generalize, right, I would say that if I want to make poetry, I write in French. If I want to be efficient and poppy, I write in English. And I think Dutch may be suitable for what they call kleinkunst in Dutch, which would be like this very typical form of cabaret. But I have a very hard time to be poetic in Dutch. It's that because maybe it's also because of the language. Like in Dutch, lots of if you want to Dutch there's lots of words that are melted together from 2 words. So the vocabulary is way less rich. And also, it's a language that's more in the back of your throat. So it's like, it's harder. Actually, when I've been in France and I've been talking French for a very long time, I come back and I really have a hard time talking the language of Dutch, which is like, it's just harder for your jaws and for your, yeah. French is a language that's more in front of your mouth, and Dutch is more guttural. It's more back in your throat.
So would you say then that you actually like the French language the most, or?
I think it's prettier. Yes, I definitely think it's prettier. And also in singing, like Italian, it's not for nothing if all opera is in Italian, because you get lots of O's and A's and E's and, and not a lot of consonants that you have in Dutch. Like Dutch is... It sounds completely different.
True. Tell me about your singing. What's the type of music that you make?
I would say that my music is kind of like, well, right now I'm busy with music and storytelling. Oh, that's how I call it. But I would say that my music actually is already storytelling in itself. So you'll have artists that they will do jazz, or they will do classic, or they will do R&B, or like they're kind of bound to a specific genre. And for me, it doesn't work that way. Like I will I just wake up one morning and then there's a song coming, it's just there. It's just, actually, I feel like it's already there. And what I actually have to do is just shape it and make it concrete, like so other people can hear it as well. And it's not only in my head. So that's what I do. So then if it has a hip hop beat, I will steal a hip hop beat, and if it has a rock beat, I will put rock underneath it. And if it's a French song, then I'll use French. I mean, I actually take the styles that I need to tell the story that I want to tell in a song.
And what are typically the themes that you sing about?
I think I've been writing a lot about breaking free emotionally. Like my first album, for example, the French one, was all about losing losing oneself. So it's about nightlife. It's about, well, the bars and the people you might meet and how you get lost and how you find your way back. And you know, it's called Le Cri de la Nuit, which would be like the calling of the night. And so then in that album, there's already kind of like someone trying to look for a way out. But the way out isn't there. And the last song is called L'odeur de liberté, which would be like the scent of freedom. So throughout the album, the lyrics and the music, you can already feel that searching, that looking for freedom. And so it's like, you know, it's there, but you don't know how, you don't know. And then the second album is actually about breaking free. So that's way more harsh and it's more in your face. And it's a lot about stuff that we might oppress, feelings we might oppress, thoughts we would not express, things we think we're not allowed to say. Or like, let me speak for myself. No, resign, lunatic looking for love. Because in my opinion, like the searching for freedom and the looking for love is kind of a same kind of search. We tend to think like, well, for how it was for me, I always thought that freedom and love didn't go together. It was like when you find love, you'll probably get into a couple and the couple will restrict you because there's lots of stuff that you're not allowed to do anymore. So then you will have to choose between your freedom and your love. And freedom would also be related to chasing your dreams and actually realizing your dreams. And I think throughout my journey, or actually in No Resign, Lunatic Looking for Love, it's a journey when, well, in the first song, she starts like me, like, it's called Player, and it's actually about what they call toxic love. So in that kind of love situation, you're actually not seeking for real love. You're seeking for rejection, like basically, right? If you're entangled in codependent love or love that doesn't make you happy, actually that means, like very shortly, you're kind of not looking for love. You're looking for something else. So throughout that album, because that one is really a concept album with songs flowing one into another. It has 5 parts and 18 songs, so bridges between the songs. It's really a concept album. And it tells a story about, like, so first you need to break free of all those things you think that I thought that I was supposed to be. And if I'm entangled in all kinds of stuff that I think that I'm supposed to be, then, like, if I push that very, very far away, I become someone else. And that means that I put myself in a loving situation as being someone else. Which means that the love is not for me, but for the person that I thought I was supposed to be. Well, and then I have a problem, of course, because then it's not about me. It's about some construction or, you know. And so the first thing, in my opinion, to be able to be in a situation of sane and healthy love is to know who you are, be in touch with yourself, and also take the risk for being loved for who you really are, and not for someone you invented or someone you think you're supposed to be. So in that sense, freedom and love are very close to each other, because you're gonna find your freedom in being loved for who you are. And then at that moment, I think that love is not a prison anymore, because then also you can be in a loving situation, not only with a potential partner, but it will be way broader. It's also about friendship. It's about working relationship, because you are going to set the rules within, or I don't like to put it that way, because it's not about rules, but it's like you want to play that game your way, like what's suitable for you and in a way that makes you happy. So you're going to find people that actually fit to that way of being.
And this is what comes through in the album, the storytelling.
Yes.
In that album.
Yes. So like it's really like this, there's these, I said 4 parts, I think it's 5 parts. So really the first part is about is that there's this breaking free, and I'm so angry and I don't want this, I don't want that, bam, bam, bam. And then the second part is more, okay, like why am I entangled in this prison? Like why, what happened? And then what does it come from? And then the third part is actually, okay, so now I broke free, or I'm breaking free, and that means that I'm all alone, because like I had to leave the environment where I came from. And I also, it sounds weird maybe, but if we have a lot, like having an image of who we think we are supposed to be can also be very comforting and very securing in a way, because then you don't have to think for yourself and you don't have to take risks. You just do as you think you should be, and then, you know, everybody happy. But at the moment that you start to leave that and actually go looking for what would be like your true self or your heart or whatever, even your body, for me it was a very physical journey, then you might end up alone. Like I ended up all alone, and you might lose people, you might lose friends, you might have to leave places, you know, because like looking for actually what's good for you, that may take some time. So the third part is more, that's kind of a mourning part, like sad. And then the fourth part is okay, now I'm done fighting, I'm done crying, I don't want that anymore, so what do I want? If I don't want this, then I want that. So the fourth part is more, it's kind of more provoking. Also looking for, okay, I don't want this, I don't want that, like let me try this, I don't know, you know, it's more, right? And then in the fifth part, it's kind of, there's kind of a making peace thing, and also a kind of falling in love, but that falling in love part is, yeah, I think, and that sounds, maybe it sounds a little narcissistic, it sounds weird maybe, but I think at some point, no, I don't think so. I actually started to fall in love with myself. And it was not like, oh, I'm so great, I'm so, you know, it was not about that. Well, but it was more about like, because I got in touch with my body, I got in touch with what I felt, and I was like, oh, this is amazing, like, look how this works. Do you know babies, when they discover their foot, for example, right, well, I won't do it, but you know, they will be playing with their toe, and they will be like, oh, you know, you see the babies, like, oh, my hand, blah, blah, blah. Well, it felt a bit like that, like I was discovering, and I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing, how does this work? And this, like, yeah, I fell in love with life as well.
That sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
What comes to mind though is I saw a few music videos that you published, and there's one that comes to mind. I'm curious, is it from this album or another album? Don't Need a Man, I think that is how it's called.
Yeah, Man for Fun. Yeah. That was from No Resign.
That was from that. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Why did you decide, or someone asked you, or whatever, to become a musician, an artist? Where did it come about? Why did that happen?
Well, actually, I think I didn't really decide. I think it happened to me.
It happened to you?
Yeah.
How did it happen to you?
Well, I remember I was like 16 and I was far away somewhere. And I said, I want to be a singer. But I thought I couldn't sing. I had a very lousy voice. And so I actually didn't even try that.
But why did you want to become a singer? Who did you see singing?
I don't know. I didn't have those. I never had those role models or anything. I think it was even maybe more about the physical experience of singing, which is really nice. Mm. It's really something like performing is something is kind of magical somehow, because if you have good sound and good light, like it kind of thrills your body. So it's a hedonistic experience almost, you know, it's really nice. And then also the public can be like watching you.
It could be intimidating, right?
Yeah, it's intimidating, but it's also really playful. Like there's energy going back and forth. So, and it's warm as well. So I really enjoyed the well, okay, now I'm lying, because actually for a very long time I didn't enjoy it at all, because I was too sick. You know, I was sick of nerves and tension and everything. Like, just to come back to your question, I think like for 12 years now, even way more, like I tried to do all kinds of other stuff because I thought I couldn't. The whole music thing, I thought I was just not capable of doing that. But then there's this Dutch expression, like they say 12 jobs and 13 accidents or something, you know. Well, I was that kind, so I tried a zillion things, but nothing ever, you know, I just couldn't. And then I thought, like, singing for me, or singing, like, it's not alone singing, right? It's also the whole writing part and the composing and the producing, what I really, really like. But I think it's also because it fits me, and I really don't know what else I would do. I would, like, if you put me in an office, I will die. If you put me with children or, like, taking care of people, I will die also. You know, okay, maybe not die literally, you know, but I will become very unhappy. So I think the whole, like for my job, I need to be in shape. I can work really hard when I need to, and there's other periods when I can be a little lazy, you know, and that way of working, like this sprinting and then be quiet and then sprinting again, that's a way of working that really suits me. So I talked a lot now.
Well, that's good. I love hearing you talk. You know it. You know that. So you call yourself a storyteller.
Yes.
In music, in writing, like songwriter, but also writing a book. I have it right here. Tell me how this came about. What's the inspiration of writing this book?
Well, so I had been kind of cut off society for years because I was lost in translation.
What does that
because
mean,
I
Muriel?
was because I lost my mind, basically. So when I found my way back, I found it back in a way that's not very common.
First of all, how does one lose their mind?
Well, when you think to have to, when someone thinks that he or she has to be someone else.
How old were you about?
When that happened, I think it started when I was a baby. Yeah.
A baby losing their mind, or
Yes.
starting to lose?
Yes. It's really baby stuff. Like when it's very intense, it's kind of when you grow up in an environment where, like, children feel a lot, right? So actually babies already can feel kind of rejection when they express certain emotions, or so when as a baby you grow up and you feel unsafe, like in a pretty heavy way, then, well, one of the things that people can do is try to become someone else. So it's not even about mask. It, like, you can put a mask. A mask is something that you put on and put off, right? So you can, like, I would say normal people, like normal, right? They, for example, can go to work, put on a mask because I don't know, because they're very sad about losing a lover or whatever, right? You don't want to bring that sadness at your work, so boom, you put on a mask, do your job, and you come back and you start crying again. That would be like a mask. That's what society requires. You're not supposed to show your emotions, so you put on a mask. But if it goes deeper, then it's actually like your brains get wired in a way that's not natural. So to use a metaphor, let's say you have the DNA of, I like that metaphor. So let's say you have the DNA of a racing car, right? So the racing car, it has one seat, it has you can't put anything in it, no suitcases, nothing. It has very thick tires, well, whatever, so you have the elements of a racing car. So imagine you have those elements of a racing car, and then with those elements, you try to build a Volvo brake. Well, then you have a huge problem because you don't have back seats, because you don't have a passenger seat, because you can put stuff in it. So if you expect with the elements of your racing car to build a Volvo brake, you're gonna say, well, this car really sucks, because I can't go on highway with it, because I can't put my family in it, because it's completely useless. So if as a person you grow up in an environment that clashes completely with actually the elements that have been given by you by nature, you're screwed. Because you continuously will hear that you're useless. And in order to make sure that you're not useless, you will try as a kid to behave like Volvo brake. And then, but if you try with the elements of the racing car that you have to be a Volvo brake, you will, it won't work.
And that's why you say it starts when you're a baby, because it's the environment that you are born into, and that you try to fit yourself into the environment, and
Yeah.
that is perhaps not your fit. How did you figure it out for yourself?
Well, that took me a very, very, very long time, because I remember, so at some point I got into hospital. I was 21.
You went to the hospital, or someone?
Well, they strongly asked me to go there. And also, well, actually, maybe I should start even before. What I realized that other people were able to, I wasn't that conscious about it, but what I felt strongly that I wasn't adapted to society. I also felt strongly that I wasn't strong enough to handle whatever life would bring me. So I wasn't actually able to build my own life. You know, you leave your parents' house, and then you need to start to be able to stand on your own 2 feet. And I realized I couldn't. So I got away. I left because because I wanted to leave, but also because I thought I need to get myself very tough, because I'm not good enough as I am. But that didn't work out, obviously, because, well, it didn't work out. So, and actually at the moment that I started to settle in the south of France, then I really got a problem, because then I had to build relationships. I had to try to study, you know, I had to try to build my life, and then everything collapsed, because then I actually realized how fragile my personality was. And all this, like, it is looking backwards that I can say that, right? And on the spot, I just felt like shit, and I didn't understand why. And I think that's a big thing. Like, you feel like shit, you get depressed. I even got kind of psychotic, you know, like I felt really, really crappy.
Were you taking medicines then?
I started to take them, but that kind of made things worse as well, you know, because they give you one and it doesn't work, so they give you someone else, and they add up. And at some point I was taking 4 different things. You know, you start to shake like crazy, and then they give you other medicine to stop the shaking, you know, it was insane. And then slowly I started, like, I realized especially that the difference between how other people who would lead their lives and how I did. So I thought I was f***ed up, which I was, but not for the reasons that I thought I was. So it took me 7 years to try to find an exit. And then at some point I was again in hospital, and then I thought, okay, this is like, there's 2 options, because I was doing this, and I kind of knew that the next valley I would take, like, I would die, because I don't know how to explain that, but the calling of this death thing was so strong that I thought, I'm just, like, my next valley, I'm just not gonna survive that. I just knew. So then I had a choice, like, or I change big time, or I die. Like, I'm not going to go on like the way I'm now. So I literally had to fight for my life. And then I came with this therapist, and she kind of, we started to work. And then gradually I started to understand that my life as I had built it, and actually my whole perspective on my life, because my whole perspective on everything in my life was based on the fact that I thought that I was screwed up. So that I didn't fit, that something was wrong with me. But if you think that something's wrong with me and people walk over you, you think it's your fault. If you think something's wrong with you and you screw up, you think it's your fault. So gradually, actually, during that journey with that lady, I have to deconstruct everything that I learned about myself, about my life. Even my memories took a complete different perspective, because if I start to think, maybe there wasn't something wrong with me at that moment, maybe that person was actually really uncool. And then, you know, so that changes everything. So I had to break down and rebuild. But that's an immense work.
How did this therapist help with that? How did, it was a she, right? I remember reading about her in the book. What are the tools that she gave?
Well, I think the biggest thing that she did was just let me look just let me find my own way without judging, without telling me what to do or how to do it. So I came there every week and I talked. And sometimes she would explain something about emotions, or that it can be important to have recognition around you. You know, that if you're built and shaped in a certain way, you may need role models to recognize yourself and be able to build yourself. So if they're not there, you have a problem. And so she tried to, but that was like basic psychology. But the biggest thing, actually, I think why she was an excellent therapist is because she didn't interfere. Like most therapists will tend, like you see someone unhappy in front of you, your first reflex will be try to comfort, okay, maybe you should try this, maybe you should try this, or, you'll try to fix it. But the biggest challenge as a therapist, like what she told me actually afterwards, like way afterwards, is actually that you have to find, like if you want for the person to rebuild their own personality, they have to do it on their own, because otherwise you're being interfering again. And that's what you don't want, because then it will become someone else's work again. So she left me alone she didn't leave me alone. She was there, right? But she let me find my own way. And even, I did pretty horrible things sometimes. Actually it was the other way around. Like pretty horrible things happened to me. And she still wouldn't. She could say, I feel sorry for you. But then we had to get back to work. Like, why do you feel that way? What happened? And every time it's like an onion, right? You peel, and you come to the
core.
To the core.
Yeah. What was important for me what I realized, what you said in the book, is that there are not many people who get out of this, and you got out.
Yeah.
How come you came out? So then other people can know that they could potentially come out as well, or for someone who they know that could come out.
Well, I think I got very lucky with the team that surrounded me at that moment. So the therapist, I also had a sports therapist and a creative therapist, and also some kind of nurse. I had a very good team. But I also think that what helped me very much is that I was stubborn, and most of the time, once you get into psychiatry, they're going to tell you, you have that disease. They're going to label you, you have to take medicine, and you're going to stay sick for the rest of your life. And for me, that was unacceptable. So I decided I would fight until I get better. And I strongly believed that if I would have my thoughts, my heart, and my body working together, that would be my freedom and also my sanity. Like, whereas, as I said before, for me, freedom and sanity and loving, it goes on the same, it's on the same line. So I had it felt like it was a journey, I wasn't blind, but I was looking, I didn't know where I was going, but I had these very strong anchor points, like in myself. So I worked very hard on my body. Like, I used my body actually as a kind of that would resonate how I felt. And I also think that's very important in mental health, not only for people who are very heavy mentally unhealthy, but like for kind of everyone in society, like how your body works, and also how trauma affects your body and how it affects your stress levels. That's so I did some research on that. And so the first thing, I thought I'm actually trying to escape from something. I realized that my mental health condition or my disease or whatever they called that it was due to a flight, that I didn't want to feel certain things. So I started to feel like everything that was feelable, and I also prevented myself from flighting. And there's so many things you can flight in. I mean, of course, the pills and the alcohol and the drugs and the cigarettes, that's kind of, but even like online porn, sugar, coffee, black tea, like everything that can influence your emotions is kind of a way to try to cope with things. So what I did actually is tearing away all my coping mechanisms, like everything. So I was just alone with myself. And every time I thought I would die or I would go insane. But like at the moment that you think that you're going insane, that's the moment where you're actually touching what really hurts. Well, and then I cried so much time. I cried so I think it was maybe somewhere I believed I could do it.
Strong-willed, but what about people who are not that strong-willed? What can we do with the current health system then, if someone is lacking the strong will to get out of it?
I'm not sure it was a strong will, because at some point I think it started to happen to me. Like it was kind of an automatic reset. And I think that the healthcare system would have a very good start if they stopped labeling people for sick and you will never get better again. I think that's the first start, because if you label them and you say you will never get better again, then that's end of story. And well, psychiatry is seen as a hard science, and I think it's not. It's absolutely not.
It's not hard science.
No, it has nothing to do with hard science. So I think it could be humanized way more. And also, I've never, ever, ever met a madman or a mad woman who didn't have a dramatic background. Like almost without any exception, like in the clinics, they had all dramatic backgrounds. So what are you talking diseases? Like first try to see how far you come with kind of working through that kind of drama, and then see how much is left. Like for instance, people, like even women who are in abusive relationships, for example, they very often get sick. They get physically sick, they get anxious, so you get out of the relationship and you get better again. Yeah. What are you called? And so they will be in the relationship, they will get labeled, yeah, you have this kind of whatever, and then the relationship stops and it gets better. So like being like it's plants, it's like a plant in a garden. If you have a plant in a garden that doesn't have enough sun or too much water or I don't know, too much shadow, take it away there and put it in an environment that's sane and it will thrive.
Back to what you said, science is not hard science.
No.
I mean, I don't want to agree or disagree, but what I do like about you making that statement is that there is room for improvement, and that if someone says this is the case, this is your case, it might not be the case. It might be that someone doesn't have to live with that label,
yeah,
and can get out of it.
Yeah.
So that is indeed what I like about what you are arguing.
I think people should know. Well, I mean, it's contradictory because, like, one of the symptoms of being in poor mental health situation is very often that people lose hope. That's part of the sickness. But somewhere I think would be very good if you don't lose hope, because it's just like a physical disease. It's the same. Like, why would you, like, you try to get better? And it was also very interesting. I read an article of a psychiatrist who was in Suriname, and he actually pleaded for the use of local rituals, like people who got insane over there and belonged to populations from there. And then, like, Western doctors would take them out and try to cure them in Western psychiatrist hospitals. And he pleaded to let the people be cured by their own populations, because those rituals actually are very, very effective. And that made me think, because like what I write in the book, at some point, right, I started to have this, it was kind of like dominoes falling. So I felt like my whole system was was fractured in some way. And then at some point, like, these barriers started to crawl. And that's what I meant by it didn't feel like a strong will. It felt like it just happened, because those barriers started to crawl and crawl and crawl. And every time, like, I would cry and I would have these, I should have looked that up, kokhalzen. So it was really like...
so kokhalzen is like you want to...
Gagging.
That's the
I was
word.
gagging, and it was really like all the pain and all the hurt would get out of my system because I was crying. I would have these memories, it will get out. And when you read about those rituals, it's kind of comparable. So it's a really physical process. Well, we don't know anything about that in Western medicine. So I suggest we go look a little broader and not be completely focused on our chemical stuff, because it's not about, it's about chemicals, right? Because if you're stressed, it's about chemicals. But it's also about like how you feel and about being human.
You're out? How long ago was this? How long ago was it that you're like, okay, I'm out? How many years
I'm
back? Out of being in the system of, being seen as mentally not ill, not well?
Well, I started at 21 officially, but I was sick way before. Like as an adolescent, I was sick a lot. And even as a child. Yeah, well, because it adds up, it builds up. So I was never healthy. I felt never healthy. Yeah, so I was 21. Basically, it took me a half a life to get tangled up, and then half a lifetime to get untangled again. I think that's basically and I was away I started like 7 years ago here in Rotterdam that I felt like I started to try to get roots. I started to build a network, to build a career as a musician. But I had to learn so much. That's a weird thing. I deconstructed myself, and then I had to rebuild myself. But it's like I lacked tools, so I had to learn how people do things, like how what they mean when they talk. Because of course I knew the language, but knowing the language and then understand the culture or understand how friendship goes, and also I had been very lonely, so that was hard to build trust again and to understand what I like, what I didn't like, which kind of persons. When you're a kid, you just like everybody, right? So it was kind of, I came here and I just liked everybody. But then I started and I thought, maybe this isn't that nice, and that's really nice, So I had to learn all those kinds of things, like how people. And I was a good bluffer, so. Like my newsletter, for example, I think my newsletter is like 15 years maybe, or I started it a very long time ago. So I did my shows, sometimes I had these clients, and so I made a little money. And because I was a very good bluffer, but then slowly I had to tear down that wall of bluffing and like starting to be who I really am, actually. And then come out with a book that was kind of like throwing a stone in a pond.
Did someone ask you to write a book, or how did that come about?
Well, sometimes I told people where I came from and what I had been living, and then I would say, you should tell that story because it could help other people. And I was like, how? How could my story? I didn't understand how. But I also had a problem for myself, because every time I would I had this very, very hidden part in my life, because you don't meet people and say, they would say so what have you been doing, or where you're from, or whatever, or even what music do you listen to, or I would be in trouble very, very fast. And it's not very sexy to come out and say, hi, I'm Muriel, and I spent 15 years in psychiatry. How? So I wanted, I also needed some maybe a tool, or something, like a way that it got out there in a controlled way. And also there was this very strong feeling that I felt that the reconnection thing that I actually did, right? I felt almost literally like my soul coming back into my body. It was like my body was some uncontrollable, it did what it was, kind of surrender to the world. It was, I had no grip on it. And then slowly, as all the pain came out, there came space for the feeling that I had a soul, and that I actually like a house that gets an inhabitant, right? So like my body got inhabited again. And I thought that was, and how I did it. So like getting rid of all this stuff, not flighting anymore, feeling all those emotions, and also getting rid of or breaking with things that didn't work for me. So I actually thought that I might have something to tell to society that's basically ruled by cognition and lots of rational stuff, and also where wisdom and knowledge, in my opinion, are being confused. Because when you go to a higher education, you go to university or whatever, I come from a very highly educated environment, but there was no wisdom, you know, like what happens when people experience when loss or when you fail, or like the very human living experiences. You don't need a higher degree to understand that. That's about humanity and about understanding how people work. And I think we tend to lose that. We expect people to lose a child and get over it pretty fast. We expect people to be 100% running up like all the time, which is insane. Just like we're not machines. Still we expect from ourselves to kind of have the high functional ways of a machine. And I think that's not healthy at all. And I also think you can see that on a lot of levels, like in how we treat nature, how we treat women, how we treat people that might not fit the, you know, what that we call people with a disability or something. I think we live in a pretty harsh society, even if we have all the healthcare, we have a social system, but we need a social system and all the healthcare because we are a harsh society. That's what I believe.
So if there will be say there's a moment that society collapsed and you could build it back up, what would you do then to make the society how it actually should be?
I would change a lot in the values that we have. Like lots of values are performance driven, are status driven. I don't even talk about money because like lots of people have a problem with having money or chasing money, and I don't have a problem with that, but I have a problem with, I think if people would chase their well-being instead of chasing status and possession, I think the world would look different, because your well-being is about health and it's about caring of other people. And I think maybe that's the biggest problem that I have, that like the most important decisions that you will get to take as a human being, like who you want to live with, who your friends are going to be, what kind of job you want to do, if you want to live in a city or in the countryside, if you like, those are all decisions that are related to your well-being. You never learn in school how to take those decisions, because those decisions are very strongly related to who you are. They have nothing to do with how much money you have in a bank, or if you have the biggest car, or if you have the fastest job. So I think like very, very important stuff. It's not like you have to figure that out for yourself. And even parents with all their good intentions and all the best will, they will, like in highly educated environments, they will push their children to go to school and to, you know, to get highly educated, to have that status and have that position in society. That means that we're also ruled, I think, by lots of people that may not be that happy. Like, how can you take decisions over other people if you don't know yourself? I think we have a very big problem there.
Someone who is listening and is like, okay, yeah, I need to know myself better. What are the practical things that someone could do?
I retired from society. Yeah, well, I don't like. I think basically what I did is what monks do in Buddhist. Like I lived outside society, and I know it needs you need means, right? But I would say the first thing you do is stop all the outside information. because we get a lot of information all the time. Like people get on television, on their phones, on whatever means. So I think I spent for years and years and years, I spent, well, more than half a day. Like I was busy getting better. It just takes time. And I think I heard you say once, which is true, like if you spend more than 10,000 hours on something, you eventually come good at it. Well, start spending 10,000 hours in getting to know yourself. And maybe not by reading books, because like, I don't know how many self-care books there are, but lots of them will tell you stuff you already know. And if you don't know it, you don't know how to apply it. So it won't work, but just listen to your inner voice, go for walks, try to eat healthy. Don't lose yourself in sports. Just, just spend time with yourself. If you want to know, like you want to know someone else, you spend time with the person. You want to know yourself, you spend time alone. Yeah, that's why it sounds very simple.
I hear that you could write many more books. In fact, something is that that's what you said. You said there are a few more books that I could write.
Yes, but the thing about writing books is that you actually have to sit down and type, which is a very uncomfortable thing to do, I think, because as I told you, I don't like to sit on chairs, and then you have this screen, and this is not. You can dance, you can sing, you can have fun. Well, you might have fun if you write a lot of jokes, but I don't know.
Suppose we have that covered, that someone else writes for you.
Just going to
yes, something like that.
Yeah.
What would it, because you said 3 books, you didn't say 2 or a book, you said 3 books. So I'm curious, you might have...
You got me there.
What will they be about?
Well, there's one book but I think I will write it in 10 or 15 years. Like I'm really not ready to write about that. But there's one topic that I kind of like, if I talk about that, for me, sanity, freedom, and love are kind of aligned, right? It's in the same alignment. But like for now, lots of, let's say, recipes about love are about couples, like mainly heterosexual couples, might also gay couples, but it's about twosomes. And I would like to write a book because like the twosome couple, the basic recipe for that is doing concessions, and also like the you're my other half story. So we both make a whole, we make a good team, and actually I feel that throughout this journey, I became a whole on myself, which doesn't mean that I'm not interested in intimacy or care or love, but it's different than that. It means that I approach love differently than I would see in magazines or whatever. And I think I would like to write a book about this kind of different kind of love, where like if you have the standard, like when people get married, it will be like, I will stay with you for the rest of my life, in sickness and in health, And I actually would like to promise someone that I will leave if I don't love the person anymore, because that's about integrity. And that I will promise someone to not try to manage his or her feelings in order to protect the person, but that I will promise to be honest and sincere, which for me is way more important to build a strong relationship in Papan. So I think we have a big heritage from Christianity and from, I think in Islam and Judaism, I think it's pretty close. Like we have those. So I'm not sure if I really want to write a book, because actually I just want to have fun and make lots of music.
Well, in any case, one of the books, A Different Kind of Love,
yes,
or something like that.
A Different Kind of Love.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I'm not the only one looking for that. I think there's more people out there who I'm not the kind that's really experimenting with it because I have other stuff to do, but there's people out there actually trying to find yeah.
So that is books. Any other projects going on?
Well, I have something really fun going on that I started in October. I think I started to sing with some people in my neighborhood. And I thought it would be fun to bring some of them as a backing choir, you know, in my shows, instead of bringing very clean, super pretty backing vocals. I thought, like, I'm gonna bring some people from my neighborhood. Actually, then I found out there was people that actually really liked the singing sessions, but that didn't want to come to concerts. So I thought maybe here there is something, because we tend to, like, people go to yoga, and they don't go to yoga in order to give a yoga performance in the end, right? It's just they're doing yoga because they like it. And I thought singing for us, because of all the contests on television, right? It has become something that is automatically linked to a performance. So you're singing, so when are you gonna perform? Well, no, I'm not. So I started these sessions where people can, well, I spent half hour just relaxing, exercising, and just breathing. So like they completely go inside, and then I build up and we sing together, and I've got even people freestyling. And you know what we did when
we were testing? Yes.
Okay, so we have these rhythm sections, and I give people different parts, and they're looping, and they get in a kind of trance, and it's really cool. And yeah, so I do that every Wednesday, and it's free singing with Muriel, it's called. And I want to let that grow a little bit. And I also did something really nice, improvisation session with a friend of mine. She's from Iran, and she plays tambour. And that was really interesting, because in Western music, we kind of have very strong rhythm, like a strong pulse, like 1, 2, 3, 4, especially in dance and pop music. It's also bam, 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 bam. And this music is way more free and without a pulse, and it's just about improvising, and I love doing that. So yeah, I really love that crossover music. So I want to go on exploring a lot of stuff. There's a world to explore. Yeah.
And what else? Where might we find you, like next year or in the coming few years?
Okay, so now, I'm gonna tell the truth now. Okay, so actually what happened, I was invited to pitch for a Theaterfestival Parade, which is pretty big. So I got through pre-selection, which that's something. But that didn't take me. And during the pitch, they actually said that my concept fits perfectly in what they want. But when I saw the lineup, it was kind of pretty like big names, right? So that one. Then there was this programmer from a big venue that I cannot mention, who said, I really would love to program you, but you're not going to fill the venue. So not yet. Then last Saturday, I was at this music networking thing in Amsterdam, and I talked to this guy from a label that, like, if they sign me, I'll be very happy. Who said, I made him listen to this track, I'm Home, and he said, lovely track, really beautiful, beautiful voice, blah, blah, blah. And let me show you Spotify statistics. Okay, and I show them, he's like, this really, really, really sucks. Like, no record label is gonna fix that for you. So basically, it feels like there's doors that are kind of like they're opening up for me, but I can't get through yet. So this year I just need to work on my visibility and my branding, and just make sure that everybody knows I'm here and that I make nice music, and that I have a very weird story to tell.
And we're going to listen to some of your music just now. Before we talk about that music, where can people find you? Because you are visible, you are on social media.
Yes, I am, but I don't do a lot of stuff. He literally said, go on TikTok, make covers of music that are close to your own music, and then plug your music in between. But I didn't do that. I'm gonna start doing that.
You have a TikTok account?
Not yet.
Wait just a few days, weeks after you've seen this,
yes,
and go to TikTok and then find Muriel there. Where are you?
Actually, yes, in a month I should have a TikTok account. So yeah. Instagram Muriel MEM, and then Facebook Muriel MEM. I'm in LinkedIn as well. So it's true, I'm there, but I'm not very active, and I should be way more active.
Promised.
Yes, promised.
You're gonna sing a song for us.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
Okay, the song is called I'm Home, And I really like that song because I think it's closure it's closure of a period where it's from my last album, Comfort Songs. And Comfort Songs is closure from a very long period of searching and fighting. And also a closure from mourning, actually, because I lost very much. I lost everything pretty much. So, and this song kind of closes that period and in the same time opens up for whatever may come. So musically, there's this tambour from that friend of mine, and I really like the crossover part. So there's percussion, tambour, just a Western bass, and lots of vocals, lots of backing vocals, which makes kind of folksy a little bit. And I really want to go on with that path, like music, like lots of improvisation in my music, because it gives me a feeling of freedom, and also I think I can become very good at it. I really like that. So all those ingredients are in that song, and it's about I'm home. It's about literally I'm home. I find my home in my body, which is for me the only home. Yeah, it's the only home you take with you until you die, basically. So it's a very important home.
Let's listen and let's experience. And you want to say?
Yeah, and also it says I'm home, I know, and I'm here. So I'm here. I landed in this earth and among the people, and I'm not flighting somewhere anymore. I'm here, facing life.
We started out with me asking you about French. There's a little bit of French in this song.
Yeah, there's a French rap in it.
For the ones who don't follow French, what are you going to be saying in this song, in this piece, in this French piece?
In this French piece, actually, I refer to my first album. It kind of looks back on, because my first album is about losing myself. And in this rap, I look back on that period when I lost myself. And now I don't anymore, because I'm here.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot for having me here. It was really cool.
Let's listen to I'm Home.
Yes. To all the friends I've known, I had to leave to follow my own tone. To all these lives I'd wrote, I'd like to say I'm home. 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 To all the doubts behind, to all the madness shriveling my mind, to all torments I'd grow, I'd like to say I know, 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 I know. To all the good I'd fight, to all the care I'd banish from my side, to all the love I fear, I'd like to say I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here.
Quand le cri de la nuit me réclamait trop fort, quand la clarté du jour explosait mes réconforts, que je me sentais si gagnée, le passé a eu tort. La femme que je suis devenue a su larguer la mort, a craint craindre la violence d'un amour retourné, chercher à oublier un Dieu qui avait déserté, à rompre le silence. Des choses qui ne se disent pas réveillent les sensations. La joie de vivre est là. I'm home, I'm home, I'm home, I'm home, I'm home, I'm home. I know, I know, I know, I know, I know, I know.